Shri Gurave. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamrupa Kadamayam Dadati Swatanti. Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaisnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganagunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganarita Shri Visakan Vitam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Badu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Kata Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Visavanu Sute Devi Pranama Hari Pri Vancha Karupataru Vyacha Kripa Sindhu Vyacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Prabhupada ki.
So we are on second canto, chapter 10, verse number 20. Nasike nira abhite yetam dodu yati nabashvati tatra vayur gandovaho grahano nashi jigrik kashta. Translation by His Divine Graces, Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thereafter, the Supreme Purusha desired to smell odors. The nostrils and respiration were generated. The nasal instrument and odors came into existence, and the controlling deity of air carrying smell also became manifest. You can read the purport? You have the book with you, Priya Govinda? Your microphone is off.
Okay, Prabhuji, here I am. So, purport. The nasal instrument order and the controlling deity of air, smelling, etc., all became manifested simultaneously. When the Lord desired to smell, the Vedic mantras confirm this statement in the Upanishad statement that everything is first desired by the Supreme before the subordinate living entity can act upon it. The living entity can see only when the Lord sees. The living entity can smell when the Lord smells, and so on. The idea is that the living entity cannot do anything independently. He can simply think of doing something independently, but he cannot act independently. This independence in thinking is there by the grace of the Lord, or the thinking can be given shape by the grace of the Lord, and therefore the common saying is that man proposes and God disposes. The whole explanation is on the subject of the absolute dependence of the living entities and absolute independence of the Supreme. Less intelligent persons claiming to be on an equal level with God must first prove themselves to be absolute and independent, and then they must substantiate their claim to being one with God.
Thank you. So, even in the previous verses, we are hearing about Virata Purusha. Virata Purusha is the universal form of the Lord. In this verse also the word Purusha is mentioned, which also refer to the universal form. And rather all this chapter goes back to the creation, how a living entity got all their senses, different facilities. And as you read them, we read how everything appeared one by one. For example, when a living entity wanted to see, he could not see. He could see to see he needed eyes. And then the eyes were provided. Now the eyes can't see if there is no light. So in order for the living entity to see, the Lord created the sun. So because of sunlight, we can see something. Or at night, if you see moonlight, because of the presence of moon, at least we can see a little. So 3 words are very important, with all the devotees should know by heart. One is Adi Devam, means we. Adhyatmam means the demigods. All those facilities are controlled by different demigods. Whether you say the sun also has a deity controlling. His name is Vivashvan. Moon has a deity called Chandra. Air has a deity called Vayu. Water has a deity called Varuna, and so on. So they are known as Adhyatmam. And Adibhutam means our bodies, the form. So that means the form was there, the facilities were given, and then the presiding deities came to help us. In other means, we are so much dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada explains that Virat Purusha, or the universal form, desire to smell. And for smell, you need the nose. So nose is a facility. And this facility, for the smell to enter the nose, you need air. Smell means odor. It can't enter your nose unless there is air. Without the presence of air, no smell can go in. And we have that smelling facility because the Virat Purusha, or the Lord had that facility. That facility was also given to us. So whatever, every facility the Lord desired, the living entity also got the same facility. When the Virat Purusha, or the universal Lord, started smelling, also we started smelling. In other words, the whole meaning is that nothing can happen independently. Because the Lord is smelling, we can smell. And we can only smell because we have the instrument. You find that many people, they can't smell. There are many people who can't see. There are many people who can't hear. It means that machine, or the part of that facility, something is wrong. At the same time, the Lord didn't have the desire for him to enjoy those facilities. Because if you want to enjoy the facilities in the world, then your working senses must work. Working senses are 5. The eyes, the nose, the mouth, the ear, and the skin. All these are working senses. Until they don't work, we don't find our senses. I mean, if you don't have these 5 facilities, we are as good as dead. So you'll find many kind of living entities. And if one of the facilities is not working properly, some other facility will work very nicely. I have my own observation that people who are blind, they have very sharp ears. They can see they can hear very nicely. So if some sound comes at once, they can sense. So in one way, the Lord deprived his sight, but the Lord added power in his ears and the rest of the body. So in this way, when the whole meaning is because the universal form of the Lord desired to have some facility, that facility also came to us. In the previous verses, the facilities have a discrimination. For example, like a human being, what he enjoys, he has, for example, eatables. A living entity has eatables of his choice, and a pig has eatables of its choice. An insect has eatables of its choice. So in that way, so many discrimination goes on. Means according to your previous karma, you'll get those facilities. If you go to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. There's a verse, it says that a living entity in the new life is given new eyes, nose, ears, tongue, skin, all centered around the mind. That means in each life we take or each birth we take, we'll get particular set of sense objects. So just like a pig can eat stew, man will not eat stew. Man will say, no, this is not smelling nice, I can't eat this. But a pig has no problem. Now what a pig can eat, you can't eat. What you can eat, a pig will not be able to eat. Because if you give nice food to a pig, then it will not enjoy it unless you mix it with some dirty food or like stool and urine, then it will eat. So everyone has his own taste. In the similar with the smell also. Why we can smell? Now, because we have the nose, the facility is the nose. Means the body has been given the facility of smelling is through nose. And the smelling power is inside the nose. Now the smell is there, but if air is not there, then the smell cannot, though the air will go inside, but you won't get the smell. Just like when you have extreme cold, your nose cannot work because it's lined with mucus and the smelling sensation gets covered. In the similar way, all the senses, when the Lord creates, three things should be understood very nicely. One is the living entity. Its body is number two. And number three are the presiding deity to make that facility work. So in this particular verse of today, the verse, I'll read it again, the Supreme Purusha desired to smell odors. In other words, he wanted to smell different kind of smells. That's why the nostril was given, the respiration was given, because you have to breathe in when you want to smell. Like you have to pull your air through the nose. The instrument or the nose itself and the smell came into existence. And the controlling deity of air, carrying smell, also became manifest. So many things are, involved just by smelling. We don't value it because we have been smelling, so we say or we think it is normal. I remember many years I used to be working in a shop which was underground. And the shop generally would smell very nice because we used to sell perfumes. It used to smell very nice. Now one day, because it was an underground shop, there was a sewage line going above the shop or outside the shop on the main road. And by mistake, somebody cut off that, or someone, instead of opening the manhole on that side, they opened a wrong manhole. And all the sewage started coming inside, and it was smelling so horrible that nobody could stand there. So we had the experience of the fragrance, nice perfumes. We had the smell of the stew. And I recall I was there. The moment the smell becomes so strong, we all started vomiting till we all had to come out of the shop. So that's an experience I can share with you. That's the day I also realized how important the nose is. Just by putting your fingers like that is not going to solve your problems. Just like when we are passing by a garden, you get a nice fragrance of flowers. If you pass by the garbage, you get a disgusting smell of the garbage. So in most cases, we try to avoid places, if you are walking, that we stay away from the garbage. Or if you are in a car, you roll up your windows so that the smell doesn't come in. So smell is also an important facility of our daily life. And we all have the important examples of Ambrish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj used his senses in the service of Krishna. And he used his smelling power or the nose to smell the flowers offered to Krishna. So we can learn from Ambarish what we should smell. Otherwise, the smelling is not in our control, but at least if you can smell flower offered to Krishna, simply by smelling, we get that divine feeling and we will appreciate. So what we can learn from this verse is that the Lord is the controller and he has his ministry. So in other words, the demigods who control everything. And then the Lord has given us the instrument for smelling. And to facilitate that smell, he has created air. So many things are involved. If one of these things are not there, then it can't work. Next, Prabhupada explains is every law, whatever the Lord desired and enjoyed, even the living entity enjoyed that facility. Means the whole creation took place because of the will of the Lord. And by the will of the Lord, the creation is going on. And by the will of the Lord, it will be annihilated. Another example is without light, we can't see. Though we have eyes, but we can't see, just like when there's total darkness, especially at night when there's a power cut and there's no light, even a faint light, all you see is one color, black color. And you try to put your hands in front of you like this, you'll not be able to see your own hands. So for eyes to see, the light has to be there. And the origin of all light, we all know, is the sun. In a similar way, without the mercy of the Lord, you can't do anything. None of your senses will work. There's a bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness, is designed in such a way by the acharyas and by the Lord himself that we use all our senses as much as we can only in the service of Krishna. Sarva upadi vinirmukta tatparatena nirmalam rishikesha rishikena sevanam bhakti uchyate. That one has to rise above the material platform, see things in a spiritual way, the way Bhagavatam tells you. Use our senses in the service of Krishna, all of them. Then that is the right use of the senses. Otherwise, those who don't see with such a vision, or with this understanding, or with this knowledge, he is not properly situated. So, living entity cannot do anything independently. It's totally dependent on Krishna. And for everything, we are dependent on Krishna. For example, like devotees who wake up very early in the morning, then you'll find that most devotees will thank Krishna. Oh, thank you for waking me up and preparing myself for the day to please you or to serve you. Every devotee knows that. Everyone who is an experience. So one thing we can learn from here that any senses we have, this is not just the knowledge gathering senses, including the working senses, the hands, the legs, and everything. We should use them properly. Take example for the ear. The ear is a facility for hearing. Now, if someone is speaking when you can't hear properly, you can't make anything out of it. And sometimes if you are hearing not attentively, you may hear half of it. And it will constitute a completely wrong meaning. It will be something else. So when we hear, we have to hear attentively. When you speak after weighing what you are going to speak. So whether it's ears or the mouth or the eyes, everything has to have a control. And the easiest way to control our senses is, as I gave that was spoken by Narad Muni, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate. The senses are called Rishik, and the master of the senses is Krishna. So one of the names of Krishna is Rishikesh. If you use our senses in the service of Rishikesh, we will not be taxed. In other words, there will be no karma on you because they are properly used. So if you want to live a karma-free life, then engage all your senses in the service of Krishna. Next, Srila Prabhupada also explains, or he quotes the common saying that man proposes and God disposes. When you have some wish and you work for it, the Lord will fulfill it. So two important senses appear in this purport. Living entities ever dependent on Lord's mercy. And the Lord is ever independent. It's completely opposite. We can never be, what you call, independent fully. But the Lord is ever independent. He can do whatever he wants to do. Like in the old English constitution, they say, the king cannot do no wrong. But in the democracy, things have changed. Formerly, the king was very godly. He would take care of his citizens very nicely. And the citizens who also treat the king as their father will not break the laws and behave nicely. And the peace used to prevail. Now people have become too independent. They do whatever they want to do. And so many things become more and more complicated. So much complicated. For example, I give you a personal experience that a friend of mine visited me in the temple, and we met almost after 20, 25 years. So he was asking me, how are you? How are your children? And I told them I have children, I have children's children, and then they are all good children. And then he said, but my case is very bad. I said, why? He said, I have 2 sons and 1 daughter. And these 2 sons and a daughter, they, on every weekend, they take money from me, they drink, and they stay one night somewhere. And Sunday morning they return, they sleep half a day, and they rise around noon. So I said, why? He said, they have a bad company. They go to drink at a place called Carnival. Carnival is very famous in Nairobi. Youngsters, they all go there. She said, what to do? I said, the weakness is you. You allowed them. And they, because he's a rich man, they know my father has money and I can enjoy what I want to do. So I gave him a simple advice that when they ask for money, tell them that I have money, but very little because I have no cash. Then things can be controlled. In India, there is a very, a famous news. If you put on the radio, if you listen to television of India, a horrible accident took place, which was carrying 6 people. They're all young people, maybe around in 20s. And the father bought a new car, and they all went for drinking. And they must be really fast that they hit some truck. It hit so badly that the roof came out and the whole car got mangled. And the bodies were found, but 2 bodies, the heads were cut. So someone can know that the car has a, a roof window, you can open the roof and you can look out. So probably they were looking out. And when the car got an accident, the heads got cut. So now the police, when they investigated, they realized that each one was drunk, each one of them. There were, I think, 3 boys and 3 girls, all young. So such incidents happen when we misuse our senses. So that's why, if you practice Krishna consciousness, then at least such problems will not come. And at least our children be taught not to misuse our senses. So it's a very shocking news, which I myself also saw on the news just sent to me by someone, how bad this accident was. Now, here, a very important sentence is the last sentence. It says, less intelligent persons claiming to be on equal level with God must first prove themselves to be absolute and independent. Only God can be absolute and God can be independent. And Shapabhat says, then they must substantiate their claim to become one with the Lord. Now, this is Mayavadi philosophy. Mayavadi philosophy is that when a man gets learned in the scriptures and he has got all the knowledge, he becomes one with God. That claim is completely or absolutely wrong. We cannot claim like that I have become God. Not possible. One can never become God. God remains God. The jiva, the living entity, remains a living entity who is totally dependent on the Lord. Whereas the Lord is only independent. Whatever he desires, it will happen. The whole chapter, you'll find that when the Lord wanted to see, the universal form got the eyes, and for the living entity, he gave the eyes, which was like a camera, and the sun came into existence, which provided light. Then the eyes could see. Similar way, the nose. Today's subject matter was the nose, and the smell, the odor, and the air. All simultaneously appear. So 3 things are going all together. One is the Lord himself. Second is the facility. And how that facility will work is the 3rd thing. So it's not that things are so easy. No. It's a very complicated kind of a issue that everything is put into detail until everything doesn't go into its place. It can't work. You can ask the devotees who work in the kitchen. Of course, in Krishna kitchen, we don't taste, but we can taste food if you are a cook after it has been offered. So most devotees, they try to taste food which has been cooked by themselves. And then they say, oh, I put a little less salt. Let me increase the salt. Let me increase the sugar. Let me do this. They make some adjustments. Of course, those who are devotional platform, they don't do all this. They eat what the Lord ate. I recall in our Nairobi temple, very old, when the temple was very old, it was like a small house, just like the way you have it in Eldoret. Eldoret house is still small, ours was slightly more bigger. So one day, one Mataji, she cooked halwa. Everybody knows halwa. Everybody loves halwa. So when she was making halwa, the sugar bottle and the salt bottle was just next to each other. So she was in a hurry. Instead of putting the sugar, she mistakenly put salt inside. And imagine the halwa was already offered to the Lord. Then when it came to serving everyone, Maharaj was here. And Maharaj was served first. Everybody else was served. And as Maharaj ate, he found the shock. He was shocked that the first time I am tasting halwa with salt inside. There was no sugar. So he didn't say anything because he was on a very high platform. He ate everything. But in the end, he asked the temple president that who cooked the halwa? They said that Mataji there. So he actually appreciated. He said, oh, by mistake, instead of putting sugar, you put salt. And the Mataji's face became red, Kabisa. And she was like, what did I do? I'm sorry. And she was asked for forgiveness. Maharaj said, not a problem. So imagine in one incident, if one thing is put in a wrong way, the whole result will be different. But the Lord is so perfect in everything that everything goes on perfectly. Now, it's upon us how to use our senses, where to use our senses, and how the senses should be used, all in the service of Krishna. If all our senses are used in the service of Krishna, then that is called Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness, which actually means we are totally dependent on Krishna. Totally dependent on Krishna is the first rule. The second rule is, yes, we are dependent. Second rule is we should appreciate that we have all the senses. And third thing is that all the senses be used in the service of Krishna. If one does that, he is a pure devotee. Or in other words, he's acting perfectly. So whatever Krishna has given us should be used properly. It's a lesson to learn. And then make sure that nothing is wasted and it is given out or used with a lot of love and devotion. Then it will end up, the final result will be Bhakti Yoga. For example, Bhakti Yoga has 9 different limbs. Hearing is the first one. Hearing means you need the ear. Otherwise, how will you hear? How will you hear? Hearing, chanting is the second. You need the tongue. Tongue has double function, to taste and to speak. So the tongue remains the most important sense. And the third one is remembering, which needs a mind and a brain, which is inside, which is a subtle sense. And then hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord. We enter the temple, we look at the feet of the Lord first, or the feet of the spiritual master, and how to serve them by becoming very humble and a meek devotee. You can please the spiritual master and also the Supreme Godhead. And the rest will follow, like serving, building friendship. Those are the deeper and deeper relationships. And finally, it is surrendering. But if you surrender from the very beginning, then our mood will be that of a servitor. We are not independent. We are rather dependent on. If you go towards the end of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse number 58, Krishna tells Arjuna, learn to depend on me, or always depend on me. You are safe. If not, you'll be overtaken by the illusory energy, which is true. Because Maya is very close. If you don't... So not humorous passing in that fire. Haribol. If you are not dependent on Krishna, then Maya is there to capture you. You'll start listening to Maya and you'll ruin your life. So if you see a devotee not practicing Krishna consciousness, means he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna and he wants to act independently. So after all, what is all Bhakti Yoga all about? Bhakti Yoga is also yoga. The word yoga means Indriya Swayam, means controlling all your senses, gathering all your senses, putting it to the mind, using your mind and intelligence, and then you serve Krishna. That is called right way to serve Krishna. So someone may wonder why this all is explained in Bhagavad Gita in this section. Because if you don't learn all these things, or if you are not aware of these things, how will you appreciate Krishna? You won't appreciate Krishna. In Bhakti Yoga, you are meant to appreciate Krishna. Show the gratitude that you given me this body, you given me all these facilities, And it's by your mercy that I am able to engage them in the service of Lord. And it's not actually we are serving the Lord. We are serving, or rather we are purifying ourselves. Those who hear Prabhupada regularly, Prabhupada gives an example of a mirror. When you get ready and go in front of the mirror, you try to adjust things. Like those people who wear a tie, they adjust their tie properly. The people who make their hair, the people who put makeup on the face, they are ladies who put some lipstick and some other makeup. Now, when you are doing this in front of the mirror, you are serving the image in the mirror. When you serve the image in the mirror, you are actually getting served. The similar way in Bhakti Yoga, you are serving the deity. You are serving the Lord himself. Whether the deity is in front of you or not, it doesn't matter. But you realize that Krishna has a form. If I serve Krishna in this way, the result will be that purity or service will also come back to me. And it does come. The more you serve Krishna better, the better devotee you become. Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ye yathamam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajameham. 4:11, I think, where Krishna says, as they surrender to me, accordingly, I reward them accordingly. So the more you serve Krishna with your senses, better your senses will be purified. And as you purify your senses, then you become a pure devotee. Our senses are material, but when they are used in the service of Krishna, they become purified. And then there are no more material senses. They become divine senses. And then you will appreciate everything about Krishna. The form of Krishna, the name of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, the fame of Krishna, and so on. Without senses, there is no question of Bhakti Yoga. And so those who have some deficiency, they get a lot of trouble in serving Krishna. But when all the senses are there, we can serve very Krishna. So serve Krishna very nicely. So finally, what is the purport trying to tell us is that we are never independent. We are ever independent of Krishna. And Krishna is always independent. Whether we serve him or we don't serve him, it doesn't matter. But if we serve him, then, as the Bhagavad Gita says, he becomes a friend to us. If Krishna is your friend, it means you are also a friend of Krishna. There is a relationship, exchange. The exchange of bhava, the exchange of lava goes on and on. So this purport should be studied nicely. 3 words should be understood properly, which I gave you. And in this way, you can understand this section very nicely. You won't have any problem. Hare Krishna. Any questions, any comments? Anybody would like to add something? For those who have Bhagavatam in the hand, at your disposal right now, go to the text 14. These words are explained very nicely. Adi Deva. Adi Deva means the controlling deity or the demigod. Like for the nose, the demigod is the air itself. Adhyatma means we living entities. And Adi Buddha means our bodies. So all 3 come together. The living entity who has a body and the relation it has with the demigod who is helping him to use his senses. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please kindly accept my humble obeisances. Oh, good Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji, for this nice class explaining the simple thing that we don't understand. You know, these senses, as you said, we take them for granted. But just think for one moment if we cannot see, or we cannot hear, or we cannot even taste or smell, cannot think, what would have been our position, our situation? We would be like animals, right? You can
Yes.
put, now we are sitting in the class, we are listening, we are understanding, and we can communicate with you. But if you take an animal you put in the class, they may listen, but do they have the power to talk or to realize something or to interact with you? No, they cannot do that. But we should be very, very thankful. Actually, when you are talking, I want to thank you, Krishna. You gave me this power to hear, to listen, to understand, to see, to taste. I'm just thanking Krishna all the time. I'm hearing you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. You know, small things like that need to be brought to our attention every now and then. And I realize that you do that. Every time you're in class, you give some nice example of things that we take for granted, right? We don't realize that how important all these things that Krishna has given us, how important they are to us. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. We can learn a lesson from this the discussion of today that, for example, we take prasad. We eat prasad, but actually we're not supposed to eat prasad. We are supposed to honor the prasad. Honoring the prasad means who has given us the prasad, how the prasad has come to your plate, and that you have senses that you can eat prasad, that taste the prasad. So this is the way our devotees' understanding is very broad. We are not narrow-minded. That's why when you're taking prasad, everyone must know, I mean, most of you must have seen this video of Prabhupada. When he would take prasad, he would sit nicely, quietly, he wouldn't talk to anyone. He would appreciate prasad. So when you learn all these verses, if you actually understood all the verses, there are many more verses which have already passed, regarding the sight, the smell, nose and ear and everything, we should show our gratitude towards Krishna, that he's given us so many things, and we should use it in his service. Otherwise, we are thieves. We are using stolen property. But when we are using the service of Krishna, we are not thieves. We get a confidence that I'm using my things properly. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, it may make me think of something. As you said, we need to use all our senses in the service of the Lord. So I like to sing bhajans and sometimes kirtans, and when I'm in UK, I sing the Gaur Aarti most of the time in the other manner. So one Mataji, she called me one day. She said, "Mataji, you sing so well. I would like to sing too." I said, "Why don't you try?" She said, "Because of my voice. My voice is too coarse." You know, I said, "Mataji, you know what? I don't have a nice voice as well, but I thank Krishna for at least giving me this voice. It doesn't matter. It goes, it's rough or whatever it is. I got the voice. So I use it in the service of Krishna. So that's what we should do. We should not think to be perfect. Nobody is perfect." Yes, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
That reminds me of one devotee. I heard one example. That one devotee, he would sing, what do you call it, Gaur Aarti so nicely, and every day would sing. Now one day a visitor was visiting, and the temple authority told him that because he's a visitor, let him sing the Gaur Aarti. Now when the visitor sang the Gaur Aarti, this devotee ran away from the temple because he had kind of a pride that no one can sing Gaur Aarti like me. No. Even if you're singing Gaur Aarti or any other kirtan, you should know you can sing because you have a facility given by Krishna. And you should not be proud that no one can sing better than me. No, there's always people who can sing better than you. There are always people who can cook better than you. There are people who can do better things than you. So if someone says that I'm not very good, I'm not a good voice, still we should encourage that person. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj used to say, if you read the Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj's biography, we learn that when the kirtan time came, you'd always put the worst kirtaniya to sing, to give the facility. I mean, to encourage him. So if you're an experienced devotee, we should always try to encourage all others around us, so that everyone can take part and everyone can make a progress. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we can end up the class here.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhu. I was driving when I was listening to your class. I didn't hear all of it, but it's so beautiful. And Mataji was saying about singing in the temple. I was the person who said to her,
Okay.
how sweet she
No,
is.
Janukanya Mataji, there was another Mataji about singing, but yes, you also told me that I told you to,
Yeah.
you know, you should.
That's how we
sing.
met, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And anyway,
yes.
I have got that problem. I'm longing to sing and I feel it so beautiful deep inside. But I have this whole throat when I start singing, and I have, sort of it doesn't come out very clear anymore, like, his age as well.
Mataji, I have the same problem, but you know what? I'm going to put you on the spot in our next class. Remember, I'll do Adeshi, next to Adeshi, not this coming one, first one in January. I'm going to put you on the spot. Remember that.
All right. But actually, I do want some help with that because I have phlegmy throat all the time. Yeah. And I love singing is the most beautiful thing to attract. Yeah, the Krishna's love that's what he likes to hear, all these lovely.
Okay, don't worry, we'll connect and then I'll help you. Okay.
Okay, and also you can probably text me and tell me what I could do to help. I just bought some ginger. Yeah,
I will tell you. Thank you.
Mataji is beautiful. She knows everything. She's such a good lecturer.
It's
very
Krishna's
senior
mercy.
devotee. Yeah.
No, it's Krishna's mercy. Whatever he has given me, I want to share. I like to share. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
lovely. That is what is lacking in the world. We don't have enough. Haribol.
Haribol.
Thank you, Prabhu, for letting me have my spiel like that.
Okay, Priya Govinda, we can end up.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji, for this wonderful session. I kindly invite Pad Prem Prabhuji to end the session for us, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, His Grace Rukma Prabhuji, for your nice and wonderful class. So also thanks all the devotees who are assembling here. I request everyone, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for glorification of His Grace Rukma Prabhuji. Please join. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha Srila
Vaishnavinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.